So I guess I need you to explain what it means when you say I'm a conservative Christian, because I also saw right up above that you're a member of the Heritage Foundation. And that frightens me because so many racial comments have come from that group.
The way these forums work, I give the candidates an opportunity for about 3 minutes to introduce themselves. We'll just go right down the line. And after the introductions and hopefully some idea of why they're running for the particular office that they're running for, we then open the floor for questions to any one of the candidates and questions about their office or questions about anything else that may be particular to why they're running for the race.
My name is Rick Waldron. I'm running for Peoria County Board District 6 as a Democrat. I was born and raised here in Peoria, went to Peoria schools, went to Holy Family, Sterling, Notre Dame, ultimately ended up at ICC, got a degree in paramedic and fire science. Worked in the local hospitals around here for a while on the ambulance as a medic, and I work for Peoria Fire Department right now. I've been on there for about 6 years as a firefighter. I'm on our union executive board, so I've been real active through that. And I kind of got into politics through that and through our political action committee, and decided to run for county board just to further my community service. Having grown up here, born and raised, lived in the district my whole life, grew up on Gale, live on North Crest right now. It was just a way for me to give back to my community as best I can. Felt like I had a lot to offer, and so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here running. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Kate Gorman, and I'm running for Circuit Court Judge in Peoria, Tazewell, Marshall, Stark, and Putnam. I am a Republican candidate, and I also grew up here in Central Illinois. I went to school during the week and church on Sunday. My parents, John and Susan Gorman, raised my sisters and I in Washington, Illinois, and my husband and I decided to move back to that community so that our daughters, who are 10 and 5, could enjoy that upbringing. I practiced law for about 14 years before I had the privilege of being appointed as an associate judge. I currently sit in traffic court, and I have since 2011. Prior to that time, I presided over both misdemeanor and felony domestic violence cases. And before that, I heard all of the orders of protection along with a wide variety of other civil matters. I am running for circuit judge because I have been encouraged by my peers and colleagues to do so. I'm proud to have their support, and I've been working extremely hard on the campaign. I thank you for your attention tonight. And I hope that if you pull a Republican ballot, you'll consider voting for me on March the 20th. Thank you.
I'm Alan Mayer, and I'm very loud now. I am a Democrat running for re-election in County Board District 6, and I'd like to first off thank the NAACP and President Jackson for again hosting this. This is a fabulous forum. I wish we had more people here tonight, but I think the weather might be keeping some folks away. Want to thank my family for my wife Carrie and my kids who are here with me this evening. The kids and I just got back from Springfield actually, where they had copies at the Abraham Lincoln Museum of the originals of the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment, and the Gettysburg Address. And they only bring them out every couple of years. And I heard about this and said, you know what, it's a day off from school, but we're not just going to play, we're going to go down and learn something. And now they're finishing out the day seeing what all those things accomplished. And the right that we all have to vote, that too many people of all backgrounds take for granted. But I am here to ask for your vote. I have not just promises to make, I actually have a record you can look at. Peoria County is doing very well financially. Our tax rate is now the lowest it's been in over a decade. Our funds are balanced. We've balanced our budget without laying people off. And we've had our bond rating improved twice. Our finances are doing really well. You look at some of the projects that we're doing. Peoria County isn't just pinching pennies and balancing the books. Go up to Heading Avenue in West Peoria. We are investing in a new county nursing home. With all deference to my Republican friends in the audience, there are some people in the Republican Party who thought that we ought to just privatize it, get out of the business of taking care of seniors. And I've been one of the people on the board fighting very strongly against that. I'm very proud of what we're doing. We have a moral obligation to take care of people who can no longer take care of themselves. And that's why I'm proud that we are building a new county nursing home without raising taxes. Third thing, redistricting makes the news in a big way every 10 years. You didn't hear a whole lot about it with the county because our map passed unanimously. We worked ultimately in a bipartisan way to come up with a map that was fair, that complied with the Voting Rights Act, unlike a lot of places, City of Peoria, that might be having problems doing that. So I'm very proud that we were able to accomplish that. And I could go on for a while. You don't have to just listen to me. If you have questions, I'd encourage you to talk to my colleagues on the board about me and about my record and why you should support me. My friend Lynn's in the back hosting us tonight. Thank you, Lynn, for having us in. Talk to Yvonne, who's a county employee and running for Recorder of Deeds. We've been out knocking on doors, getting signatures, and doing all those good campaign things. Talk to the people who know me and have worked with me. Feel free to ask me questions, but feel free to ask them questions too. Thank you, everyone.
I'm Sherry Bustos, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm proud to be a Democrat. I'm running in the 17th Congressional District, and I think what's important to note in Peoria County is that Peoria now will be represented by 2 members of Congress. So we still have the 18th District that is more of the northeast part of Peoria County, and the more of the southwest part of the county is now in the new 17th with redistricting. So I want to point that out. So depending on where you live, you will have a very good chance of being represented by a Democrat, and I'm very thankful for that. If anybody wants to applaud to that, feel free. I'm based out of Rock Island County, so I'd like to talk with you a little bit about my background and why I'm running. I've spent a good part of my career in journalism, and then the last 10 years of my career in healthcare. And I'll tell you why I think that's important. I've been in a position through my occupations to be able to help people. When I was a journalist, many of those years I was an investigative reporter, where I had an opportunity every day that I walked into the newsroom. I always wanted to be on page 1. And part of that was my competitive nature, but part of it also was because when you were on page 1, you had an opportunity to get the most coverage, the most notice. And I spent a great deal of my career being able to uncover corruption, and not just among Republicans, but among Democrats too, because if you're a public servant, you are there to serve the people, not to line your pockets. And I was in a very fortunate position where I could expose that wrongdoing. On the other side of it, I also was in a position where I could talk about people and their plights. People who were having trouble. I wrote a lot about child abuse issues, where because we were in a bi-state area, we had cases where the records from Iowa were not exchanged with records from Illinois, and we had children die as a result of that, not sharing the information. We changed the law because of this coverage. We wrote about the lack of dental coverage for people who couldn't afford care. And I interviewed mothers who would hold their children in their arms while they had these terrible toothaches, and there were not dentists who would take Medicaid patients. We exposed that so we could correct that. I'm running for Congress because I want to be in a position where I can continue to help people. This is very important to me. Because of my background in healthcare, I was also in a position where we could offer immunization clinics in areas where kids couldn't afford their annual immunizations. And we were able to offer that through the nonprofit health system that I worked for. But on a more personal note, my sister, who's in the audience, Lynn Callahan Ridley, she and I lost our brother a little over a year ago to a rare form of cancer. And while he was fully employed and had good health insurance, the health insurance wouldn't cover his care because it was considered he needed experimental treatment. And so we, as his sisters and my mom and dad and his friends, we would have to raise money in order to pay for his treatments, which cost $15,000 every dose that he had to take. And, you know, I know we are not unique. Our family's not unique. My husband, he's a police officer there in the back. He's been a 28-year member of the Fraternal Order of Police. He lost his sister to cancer as well. She was employed but couldn't afford insurance. And these stories are repeated all over our region, all over the state, all over the nation. And I know we can do better. And because of my background that I've had in healthcare and in journalism, I know I can ask the tough questions that need to be asked. I understand healthcare. There's very few members of Congress who have any kind of healthcare background. Just fewer than a couple dozen, while we have 160 plus lawyers in Congress. And so I think this is a background that can help serve our region well. I would love to have your support. I'd love to get to know each and every one of you. I was very encouraged to meet the young lady in the back who's a student. She's a resident here at Peoria, a student at Illinois State, who wants to get more involved. I was encouraged to meet you also as well, who's interested in getting more involved. Would love to have your involvement in our campaign. I need to get to know people of Peoria much better. And I'm grateful for your attention and look forward to any questions you may have later and look forward to getting to know each of you as well. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Hoppick, and I recognize several faces in the crowd, and it's nice to see you. For those of you who are not familiar with Ward Chapel, they do a lot of good work. If you look at my Facebook page, you'll notice some of the things that they do. So they're always looking for more volunteers, and they're always looking for more money to help feed the homeless. So that'll be the first thing I suggest to all of you, that you join in that. I'm running for Circuit Judge. I am a conservative Christian. I've been happily married to my wife, Sue Ann, for over 15 years, and our lovely daughter. We have a daughter, Haley. Professionally, I'm the only one running in the race who's been a prosecutor, defense attorney, and civil attorney. I'm the only one who's tried the murder cases, drug cases, and sex cases that circuit judges routinely preside over when they hear criminal cases. For those of you who are looking at my card, you will see several things, although I've done a lot more than what's on that card, and there's not enough time to cover everything. So I'll try to be brief and give you a brief sketch of my qualifications and why you should vote for me on either February 27th, when early voting starts, or on primary date on March 20th. I'm a former volunteer firefighter, licensed EMT, and as a former volunteer firefighter, I salute you and thank you for your service, because I know what it's like to answer the call at 2 o'clock in the morning to help other people. The MEG directors I talked about, I oftentimes point out that I was the only prosecutor in the entire state of Illinois to receive 2 of those, but I actually received 3 of them. In 2005, I received 1 as well. So that should give you some idea of my professional ability and qualifications. To be the only prosecutor in the entire state of Illinois to receive 2 of those should say something to you. I've also been a defense attorney, and I've been rather successful as a defense attorney. So that should give you an idea of my professional abilities. I was on the executive board for the Republican Party, and I know some people here that will be a negative. But just as you are a proud Democrat, I'm a proud Republican and a proud conservative. I've worked for and I've fought for those principles. Now, as a judge, I will act impartially. I will give each side a fair opportunity for a hearing, and I will exercise judicial restraint. Because in my professional experience since 1997, that's what you need. You need someone in a courtroom who's actually been there, who's tried the cases, who has actually seen it from both sides. I know what it's like to hear from the client who's being charged with a serious crime that they didn't commit, and they feel like the system is stacked against them. I also know what it's like to be the prosecutor, to be in a situation where you're arguing and proving a case about a heinous crime. Of the decisions that are made. Civic involvement is not something that just started recently for me. Look at my card, talk to the people like Chuck Weaver, Eric Turner, Matt Nictine, Mary Haynes, Dennis Conover. I've been doing it for a long time. This is my first time running for office, but I'm a Rotarian, Kiwanian, Chamber of Commerce member, State Rifle Association, and Ducks Unlimited. When you go to the ballot, I ask you to consider the following two things, and then I'm going to ask for your vote. I ask that you consider who has actually tried the cases, because that's one of the hardest parts that a circuit judge has to do. The negotiated pleas where a judge is just essentially signing off on the paperwork and going through the routine is not a particularly difficult thing to do. But making the individual decisions, that is. The other thing is knowledge of the law. I would encourage you guys to ask us about our knowledge of the law and to demonstrate that. When you do that and you weigh the candidates, I believe you will find I'm the most qualified, and therefore I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. How you guys doing out there? You guys doing all right? Hanging in there? You know, I have a microphone, and I'm sitting here with people from the NAACP and the African American community, and the only thing that comes to mind is they sing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Sound familiar? It's a song that I've been singing for a very, very long time. You know it, don't you?
Never heard the song.
Never heard it, never heard it. It's a song that's really helped keep me motivated. It's a song that makes me reflect on so many obstacles that so many of us have overcome, and has put faith into my heart and so many people that change can happen. But if we want change to happen in our country, and for all of us, we need to put representatives in office that are concerned for the needs of us, the working class. Congress is elected so that all representatives can help create an environment so all people can pursue a life of liberty and happiness. But it's getting harder and harder to pursue happiness when there are so many civil rights being violated and so much social justice that we have yet to fight for. Right now in America, 27% of African Americans are living below the poverty line, and 18% of African Americans are hovering right above it. That means about 45% of African Americans in this country are right above or below the poverty line. 26% of Hispanics are living in poverty. 9% of whites are living in poverty. Now, this is not a racist issue. It's not a racist issue. It's a representation issue. Because 35% of our country is considered multicultural or minority. But only 17% of our representatives are considered multicultural or minority. We need representation for the people to best represent the people. And I'm that person that can best represent all communities in District 17. My name is Greg Aguilar, and I'm asking for your vote and your support. I have the experience needed for this position. I've worked for several years for the Social Security Administration, helping thousands of people with their retirement, disability, SSI, Medicare issues. While banks needed a bailout, I was working for a credit union that didn't need a bailout because we put people before profits. I've worked for the media for several years, currently working in higher education. These are the skills and experience needed to represent District 17.
Mr. Aguilar, you want to wrap up the first 3 minutes?
I would love to.
Thank you.
In closing, my name is Greg Aguilar. I'm a Democrat from East Moline, Illinois, running for US Congress. Thank you for your time.
I'm Dave Kaler, and I think I know most of you in the room from the Peoria area. And I'm running for re-election. This is my third term that I'm running for. And I've been very privileged to be able to serve you in the Illinois Senate. This is my 6th year. Things are not looking real rosy in Illinois right now, just as they are in Washington, D.C. Washington has gridlock, which our congressional candidates will talk about. Springfield, we're dealing with some severe budget crisis. And in the midst of all that, we debate back and forth about how Illinois is going to pay its bills and this and that. Quite frankly, what I guess you're going to hear most about me in the fall election is that I was one of those who voted yes on the Illinois income tax. And that was a tough vote. That was a very tough vote. But it was one that I felt was necessary. And I'm going to have to defend that because there's going to be tons of money spent against me, and they're going to, well, from a Democrat perspective, we raised it from 3 to 5%. You'll hear the ad saying we raised it 67%. Okay, so it's half a dozen one, six of the other. But the reason that that's important is because when you look at how this has hurt our social service network throughout the state, and then you say, how would we have cut an additional $7 billion out of the budget if we had not passed that? Places would have gone out of business. I mean, already we're seeing that what a whole Carver Center not being in business is left in this neighborhood, in this community. So we have to get the ship steered in the right direction. But we have to do it by also understanding that in our communities, that when we take social services out, or when we pull educational money out, or when we deny opportunities, that it really hurts us, and it's a long time coming back. The deepest recession that any of us have ever experienced is what we experienced in 2009. And I would be very pleased if you would vote for me to send me back to Springfield, because we have to get this job done right, and we have to do it, I think, with a Democrat perspective, and that is with people in mind that need the services and need the help of government. So thank you for all your support in the past. Appreciate it.
I'm James K. Polk, and I'm a candidate for the 46th District Senate race. And as I travel through the community and talk about issues in Springfield, what most people want is a fighter, someone who's going to stand up and fight for them, and not just make decisions on what the leadership of the party decide. I've noticed that people throughout the community feel that they're getting shortchanged, if it's from seniors to people with disabilities, for transportation, all those things, education. And I know by serving on the county board, by being on the city council, by being on Illinois Central College Board of Education for all these years, that the trustees have fought for education. I understand education, and that's something the very, very important thing. And the Illinois Trustee Association, we are getting more and more money back from the state because we fight in Springfield to make it happen. We get a lot of money because we fight. And I've always been a fighter. I've always worked hard for people in this community. It's not a stepping stone for me. It's somebody that will fight you and stay there and fight as long as I can to make sure that the people from the 46th District receive a fair shake. One thing that to circumvent just going along with what the leadership says is that I'm intending to form a 46th District Advisory Committee to have an input on what's important for our district. We downstate have been shortchanged, I think, for a long, long time. And I feel very strongly that you need a fighter in Springfield and not someone that will either follow leadership all the time. So I know we have been shortchanged. We must work together as a district. All the social agencies have to come together to fight and lobby for the things we want in Springfield. That's the way it works. I also serve on the CityLink board. And in that case, as a vice chair, and we lobby and fight, and we have achieved things with ICC, transportation, CityLink, with new buses and all those things. That's because you have to fight for what you get. You cannot follow leadership all the time. Sure, you have to compromise sometimes, but you have to fight for the people in this district. So that's something that I will do. I've always have done. Anybody who knows me know that. And if you don't stand for anything, if you don't work hard for things that you believe in, if you don't make decisions and then change them decisions, what you have to do is stick and work for the people and the working men and women for the 46th District, and that's what I will do. So on March 20th, I look forward for your vote. I'm not looking past into the fall election because there's a primary election March 20th. So I ask you to vote for me on March 20th for the 46th District State Senator. And I appreciate that, and I'm not looking forward to the fall. First of all, you have to win on March 20th.
All right, thank you.
PCCEO Head Start is now registering children for our 2012-2013 school year. Head Start is a safe, nurturing environment for children between the ages of 3 and 5. Head Start provides a variety of support programs for families to help them on the road to success. Half-day sessions and full-day sessions are now available. For more information, please contact 671-3960. Give your child and your family their Head Start.
Question is, with Caterpillar being here in town and them not putting a plant here where they have their headquarters, what will the representatives do to try and attract new business so that when I graduate in December, I can have a good paying job, have health care and benefits?
And the county did make a proposal for the Caterpillar plant in which a number of us, engaged in that, and I sent a letter as part of that just to say what the state of Illinois would be willing to do. We have to go after those kinds of jobs aggressively. Those are important jobs for us. I think the feeling was all along amongst many is that it probably was already headed to North Carolina when we started, but that's not the last time we're going to be able to bid on and to make a proposal on jobs like that. And Caterpillar is not the only company where that's going to be possible. I've been privileged to see Komatsu in terms of their expansion. I was invited over a year ago to take a tour of the building and to talk with both management and union about the expansion that was just announced in the paper this last week. That's about 100 new jobs. What the state of Illinois has to do, in my estimation, is make it as easy and take care of the needs of what industry or what a business has. And let me give you an example. Excel Foundry makes huge rock crushers for the mining industry all over the world. They're over in South Pekin. And they were having a problem because they couldn't get their big trucks into their plant and able to make the churn to get onto the freeway to take their product to wherever it was that they were shipping it to, and it's shipped overseas, so I'm not sure what port they use. So we got together with the county, the township, and the state, and we have now come up with the money to improve that road, and those 100 jobs are going to happen. And that's what, working in partnership to say, what are your needs and how can we take care of them? Infrastructure is a public responsibility. And I'm glad to say that there's an uptick right now in manufacturing jobs in Illinois, and especially in this area here. I'll tell you where the shortage is. The shortage right now is because we've had such a stagnant economy. We don't have the skill level to fill some of those jobs. Excel is the first one to tell you that they can't hire the kind of qualified people that they need, and that's an educational issue. And we have to make sure that we continue to pump and prioritize educational funding, because that's the future. And every time we have a budget and we start to think about holding back on education, some of us are in there fighting and saying, you can't do that. That's our future. And the statistic right now, if you look at the age group of about 18 to about 25, the unemployment rate is actually over 50%. And that's a crisis for us.